I got the newest iPhone, which I do not have for the record, but it's got a pretty cool feature called crash detection, which is what it sounds like. The phone detects various types of car crashes and then automatically calls 911. Pretty handy. And again, one of those things that you hope you never have to use. Here's the thing. Some riders of roller coasters are discovering that all the herky-jerky movements also triggering the calls to 911. It could be avoided by putting the phone in airplane mode. So a little bit of prevention on your end. When you're analyzing a portfolio, when you're doing these reviews, what sets off the crash detector at the Retirement Guys formula?
Well, I would tell you, since I just have a new kid turning 16,
Mm-hmm.
so my youngest son is now 16, and he's been begging me for the new iPhone. Maybe I should let him get a new iPhone.
There's a reason right there.
That's a good
Absolutely.
feature, but I don't know with how expensive. We'll see how it goes. I think the most important thing I would think is when you're looking at your portfolio and you're trying to have some type of crash detector, what you need to do is you need to have a portfolio that can be adaptive to the conditions that are outside. What I tell my 16-year-old is I say, hey, the first time it snows, which was last weekend here in Northwest Ohio, that's the time that drivers really forget how to drive. They drive just like it was great weather out, and you've got to adapt to what the weather is. We, in our portfolio that we have some software where what we do is we help people develop what is called their risk score number, and that number ranges from 0 to 100. It's oftentimes when I do an analysis with folks that we'll put their investments into there, and it'll come back with a risk score of, like, let's say 78. So 100 is the highest, 0 would be like putting all of your money in the bank. 78 is like driving a car 78 miles an hour. I went this last weekend. My son played hockey out at Mentor, and we were on the turnpike. Going 78 miles an hour on the turnpike, it was a beautiful Sunday weather, was fine. You can cruise right along. Now, when we got done with the game, if you remember last Sunday, and it could have been more lake conditions over there in that Cleveland area, but the snow was really coming down, later in the day. It had gotten dark out. The weather and the road was now a little bit more slippery. I had to adapt to the conditions that were outside. It just didn't make sense to go that fast, nor does it make sense to go that fast when you're on a country road or you're in the city. You don't go 78 miles an hour. You have to adapt to the portfolio. So if you think about your investments, the best way to get a crash detector is to say, if the conditions in the economy change, is your portfolio automatically making changes to address what's happening out there, or is your gas pedal stuck exactly where you're at and you're still going 78 miles an hour even though the conditions outside look really bad? And that's one of the things that we do is, we try to build some strategies in place that allow us to be somewhat flexible. We talk about things like circuit breakers in a portfolio to help reduce risk. There's ways that we talk about building what is called an all-weather portfolio. Sometimes when the weather gets bad, it's good to come inside and just, set that thermostat at 72 degrees so you can have that consistent weather. Everybody's situation's a little bit different. Even with a crash detection system, I think one of the values of working with a financial professional is it's like having somebody in the seat next to you. My wife does a great job. If I'm steering at the road and paying attention, she's my navigator. And she'll tell me, hey, watch out. That says that there's red coming up above. You're going to have to watch out because it looks like traffic's going to be stopped in a couple of miles out. She can help find an alternate route if things don't look good. And sometimes she can say, hey, watch out, don't get over. There's another car there, and help with those blind spots. And I think, again, having a financial professional and using an adaptive system is going to be the best way for somebody that's close to or in retirement time to have a system to help them with that crash detection.
I was out actually in that snowy weather last weekend, and boy, how we forget how to drive. You hit the nail on the head there. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. That new phone might be something to get for your son.
He totally tasked me with mentioning the story just so you can get him the phone, by the way. I remember, I don't actually remember, but, the first time that you set out when you're a young driver, the first time you go out on the interstate by yourself, it can be a little intimidating. And it's kind of like when you're out in retirement and you set out for the first time, you're no longer working. Having to go it alone can be intimidating. The good news is you don't have to go it alone. You have a proper plan in place to navigate you through whatever may come down the line, all starts with having a proper plan put in place. And that starts with a call to America's Retirement Headquarters, 419-794-3030, or go online to the website, americasretirementheadquarters.com. Want to thank you so much for joining us today, spending part of your time, part of your weekend with us here on America's Retirement Headquarters with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. Please have a great week ahead of you. Have a safe week ahead of you. And guys, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I found a great quote for this week. I love this one. It's, "I'm retired. Goodbye tension." So thanks for taking some time to tune in to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula, America's Medicare Associates. And just remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters.